Hello and good morning friends, welcome to the CEC-UGC live lecture. Dear friends, as you know that we are carrying a series on marketing management and as you know all that we have conducted numerous lectures on this very series. We have talked on various topics under this series. Today also we are going to talk on a very important topic, and the topic is forecasting marketing demand. How forecasting is done in the field of marketing. Dear friends, for this we have again with us in our studios Dr. Subhash Kakkar. Dr. Kakkar is an eminent academician who, with the help of these EduSet lectures, delivers you the important points which are necessary to be known. So without wasting any time, I would like to welcome our guest Dr. Subhash Kakkar. Dr. Kakkar, welcome to the EduSet lecture.
Thank you, Gitika, and welcome viewers to today's lecture. And this lecture is part of our series on marketing management. And today's topic is forecasting marketing demand. What is the importance of this particular aspect of marketing? We'll try to explain in detail so that viewers come to know the importance of forecasting in marketing management. As we all know that marketing is an important function in any organization, whether it is manufacturing company or a service industry. Marketing function plays a vital role. So for this function to act properly and effectively, and in current days and in future days, we want to know what is the current scenario in the market as far as the company is concerned and what is going to happen in future. There are a lot of things which are to be done in future, and strategic planning for these activities is to be done today. For that, the most important thing which relates with the marketing function is the marketing demand. Marketing demand depends upon a number of factors: customers, increase in customers, demographics, change in the needs of customers, their wants, their requirements. Introduction of new competition in the market also plays a vital role in deciding the future course of action. Government policies are changing, international market is changing, economic conditions are changing. All these factors go on the demand of a product in the market. Unless we know the demand, what is going to happen in future, we cannot decide about the action plan today. We have to make marketing strategy, and that strategy is to be made today so that we can take proper actions tomorrow. We should have a future and secure future in the days to come. And that is only possible if we accurately forecast the demand of a product or a service. Today we shall discuss what are the techniques available to forecast the demand for any product or service. We'll plan everything today based on the forecast. What sort of things are to be planned? Marketing expenditure, marketing mix. A decision on marketing mix is to be taken, and that decision should be effective, perfect, without any error, so that our actions are exactly matching with the future requirements. We can deliver the product and services if we have already planned well, and that planning is to be done today. And today, forecasting is also part of planning strategy. So today we are going to discuss how to predict the marketing demand. When a company finds an attractive market, it must estimate that market's current size and future potential carefully. There are three things which are important. One is the market, other is the current situation of the product or service in the market, and what is the future trend. And based on that, we will take the action today. To develop effective targeting strategies and to manage their marketing efforts effectively, companies must be good at both measuring current market demand and forecasting future demand. We have to accurately measure the current demand for the product or service. Then we have to predict for the future also as accurate as possible, because our strategies are based on this predictive demand. So, it should be accurately done to face the challenges of the market. Overly optimistic estimates of current or future demand can result in costly overcapacity or excess inventories. Underestimating demand can mean missed sales and profit opportunities. Our predictions should be close to the actual figures. If these are less than the actual figures, then we'll miss the market. We shall not be able to place our product in the market because we have not manufactured to the extent of the future demand. Now, in case predictions are over and above the actual figures, then our inventories will pile up. Both the situations are harmful for the company. So, we want to predict accurately the future demand of any product or service. Measurement and measuring current market demand. Marketers want to estimate three aspects of current market demand, and these three aspects are: the first one, total market demand, area market demand, and actual sales and market shares. With these three figures in hand, we will predict the demand for tomorrow. Estimating total market demand. The total market demand for a product or service is the total volume that would be bought by a defined consumer group. Here we have to define the consumer group, the target market, where we find the potential for the product. And for that, we have to do in a defined geographic area in a defined time period. Geographic area is defined and the time period is also defined here, and in a defined marketing environment, and we have to see that what sort of marketing environment is available to us where we have to play with our product or service. And this is to be done under a defined level and mix of industry marketing effort. We have to ascertain the marketing and the competition present in the market so that we are able to correctly take the decision. In total market demand is not a fixed number. One should keep it in mind. The market and its demand is not a fixed number. It is a variable number. It keeps on changing. But a function of the stated conditions. Under certain conditions, we can predict the demand. If these conditions change, we cannot hold the demand to remain same. For example, next year's total market demand for ice cream will depend on how much the makers of other brands spend on marketing. Here, the environment and its conditions are playing an important role on the demand for a product. In this example, we have taken ice cream as a product and we are commenting on the demand in future, but its demand will depend upon how much competition is spending on their marketing activities, because if they are promoting their product, our market share is going to get reduced. So, based on their activities and their strategies, we have to see where we stand. It will also depend on many environmental factors, ranging from the level of consumer health concerns to the weather in market areas. The demand for the premium ice cream brands will be affected by economic conditions. Here we want to see that surplus income available to the customer, to the consumer, again plays an important role regarding the demand for a product. If economic conditions are not so good, then the sales will get reduced. If the economic conditions are good, the sales will also improve. Some minimum level of sales would occur without any marketing expenditure. On one side, marketing expenditure is there. On the other side, we are getting sales revenue. If we plot marketing expenditure on x-axis and the sales revenue on the y-axis, will have close to a straight line graph, but it will have some intercept on the y-axis, and that intercept will denote the sales revenue without spending anything on the marketing expenditure. So, this means that some minimum level of sales would occur without any marketing expenditure. Greater marketing expenditures would yield higher levels of demand, first at an increasing rate and thereafter at a decreasing rate. So, this is a scene which is possible when we talk about only marketing expenditure. Marketing efforts above a certain level would not cause much more demand. This upper limit of market demand is called market potential. Now, we will define one important term, which is market potential. As we discussed, if we spend marketing expenditure, sales revenue will increase. First, it will be straight line, then with respect to marketing expenditures, sales will not increase to that extent which we saw at the earlier stage. And we shall be able to fetch the market share to some maximum level, and after that, even if we spend more on marketing expenditure, sales revenue will not improve. And that highest level of demand with respect to marketing expenditure will put a limit on the demand, and that limit is finally called the market potential, and market potential for a particular product. Total market demand, the total volume of a product or service that would be bought by defined consumer group in a defined geographic area, in a defined time period, in a defined market environment, under a defined level and mix of industry marketing effort. Here we have talked about certain things. On one side, the total volume of a product or service which will be demanded by the customer depends upon defined consumer group, geographic area, a defined time period, defined marketing environment, defined level and mix of industry marketing effort. So, with respect to all these, we are going to define the market and its demand. Market potential, once again, the upper limit of market demand is the market potential, and which we have explained thoroughly already. Primary demand, the level of total demand for all brands of a given product or a service, for example, the total demand for motorcycles, and this is called primary demand. I will repeat, the level of total demand for all brands of a given product or service, for example, the total demand for motorcycles. Here we are talking about the total demand of a product, not of a particular brand. So, all the brands put together and the calculation of the demand is known as primary demand. The selective demand, the demand for a given brand of a product or service, and the selective demand is only for a particular brand, not for the entire. If you are talking about the entire demand, then it is primary demand, and the selective demand is for a particular brand. The industry market forecast shows the expected level of market demand corresponding to the planned level of industry market effort in the given environment. When we forecast about any product, about the expected level of market demand, it is being done with respect to a certain marketing environment and with respect to certain marketing planned level of industry marketing efforts. And under this environment, we are talking about a particular demand level. So, with respect to a definite marketing effort and working in a particular marketing environment, we have to define and forecast the demand for a particular product. Companies selling in mature, non-expandable markets often take primary demand, total demand for all brands of a given product or service as given. When we estimate the demand, we talk about the total demand of a product, and the total demand of a product irrespective of the brands we are considering is the primary demand. So, we are selling in a mature and non-expandable market, and our estimates will be with respect to a particular product and its total demand, which is called primary demand. They concentrate their marketing resources on building selective demand, demand for their brand of the product or service. Now, the individual players in the market, they concentrate their activities, their strategies, their game plans to promote their own product and their own brand. That means they are working for a selective demand. Based on the total demand, they are working on their own demand and demand for their own brand. Companies have developed various practical methods for estimating total market demand, and this is illustrated here. Suppose a music company wants to estimate the total annual sales of recorded compact discs. A common way to estimate total market demand is as follows. Q is equal to N into small q into P, where if there are 100 million buyers of compact discs. Each year, the average buyer buys 6 discs a year and the average price is rupees 17, then the total market demand for discs is rupees 10.2 billion. We have taken into account the number of buyers as 100 million. So, 100 million into 6, because each one is buying on an average 6 discs and the cost of one disc is 17. So, we will multiply 100 million into 6 into 17. This will be a figure which is equivalent to rupees 10.2 billion. A variation of this approach is the chain ratio method. This method involves multiplying a base number by a chain of adjusting percentages. In this, the Q is the total market demand, N is the number of buyers in the market, and Q is quantity purchased by an average buyer per year, and P is the price of an average unit. So, the formula will remain same. Q is equal to NQP. Multiply N with Q and with P, and the total will be the total market demand for a particular product. For example, suppose ABC Satellite Company wants to estimate the market potential for its new digital satellite system. This system uses a small 18 inches wide home satellite dish mounted on a rooftop or on a window sill or porch railing to receive digital television signals relayed from 2 high power satellites in space. System price is start at rupees 975 for the satellite dish, decoder box and remote control. Customers can subscribe to more than 150 channels, all with crystal clear digital quality pictures and CD quality sound. Initially, company will target households in small towns and rural areas where cable TV is limited or lacking. So, company can make a demand estimate for the digital satellite system using a chain of calculations like the following. And the calculations are like this: total number of households, the percentage of households located in a small town and rural areas not served well by cable television, because we are replacing cable television with satellite system. So, first we have to estimate the percentage of households located in small towns and rural areas not served with cable television. The percentage of these small town and rural households with moderate or heavy television usage. Then we have to estimate the percentage of moderate or heavy usage households with enough discretionary income to buy home satellite dish. So, we have to calculate all these three figures so that we are able to estimate the demand for a digital satellite system. This simple chain of calculations would provide only a rough estimate of potential demand. However, more detailed chains involving additional segments and other qualifying factors will yield more accurate and refined estimates. One chain of calculation we have shown, and this is a basic chain, and this gives us a demand for a product. On these basic calculations, we can add certain other factors which are responsible for changing the demand of a product, and a suitable action can be taken on this formula. Depending upon the nature of factors, what is their impact to be on the demand of a particular product. When we make the effective corrections in the calculation, we will get demand and the predictive demand and the forecast demand close to the actual figures. Now, estimating area market demand. Companies face the problem of selecting the best sales territories and allocating their marketing budget optimally among these territories. Therefore, they need to estimate the market potential of different cities, states and countries. The companies operating all over the world, company is to estimate the demand of the product in different cities and different states and different countries. Sum of figure of these different demands will be the total demand for a product. When we know the demand of a product in a particular city or a particular state or a particular country, we can make our own strategy based on the demand figures on the expenditure to be met on the marketing activities. Two major methods are available for that. The market build-up method, which is used primarily by business goods and firms. The second is the marketing factor index method, which is used primarily by consumer goods firms. I'll repeat, the first one is business goods, the second one is consumer goods. The first one is the market build-up method, which is used primarily by business goods firms, and the market factor index method, which is used primarily by consumer goods firms. Market build-up method, a forecasting method that calls for identifying all the potential buyers in each market and estimating their potential purchases, and this is called market build-up method. Market factor index method, and which is for individual consumers. The first one was for business, and this method, a forecasting method that identifies market factors that correlate with market potential and combines them into a weighted index. Estimating actual sales and market shares. Now we have come to a stage where we can have estimates of actual sales and the market share, whether our sales are going to improve, are going to be stable, or going to reduce. On the other hand, we will also come to know the estimate of our market share, whether again it is going to improve, going to be stable, or going to reduce. Besides estimating total and area demand, a company will want to know the actual industry sales in its market. Thus, it must identify its competitors and estimate their sales, because our sales will depend upon the competitors' strategies and competitors' sales. Now, we will discuss forecasting future demand of any product or any service. We will discuss different methods of forecasting, what is their importance, how these are used to forecast the future demand of any product or any service. Forecasting, the art of estimating future demand by anticipating what buyers are likely to do under a given set of conditions. Here, the set of conditions ought to be estimated, ought to be known, and these are known through marketing research. What are the conditions which will be prevailing in future? Under those conditions, the companies to operate, companies to sell the product to the customers. With respect to these conditions, the company is going to make estimates for future demand for a product or service. Companies commonly use a three-stage procedure to arrive at a sales forecast. And this procedure is, the first, they make an environmental forecast. Under what conditions the company is to operate in future, what those conditions would be in future. Once these conditions are known, the further action will be taken in the direction of forecasting demand for a product or a service. And this is followed by an industry forecast. The complete industry, the total demand is forecast based on the environmental conditions which are estimated at the first stage. Second stage means industry demand forecast is prepared. Then followed by a company sales forecast. The third stage is to make an estimate for the individual company forecast. So, I will repeat, first the environmental conditions are to be forecast under which the company is to operate, and then industry demand is to be estimated, and then individual company demand is to be estimated. The environmental forecast calls for projecting inflation. What is there in the environmental conditions? Inflation, unemployment, interest rates, consumer spending and saving, business investment, government expenditure, net exports and other environmental events important to the company. There are so many factors which make the environmental system, and these factors are inflation, employment conditions, interest rates, consumer spending and saving potential, business investment, government expenditures, net exports and other environmental events. So, all these are responsible for making an environmental condition. The result is a forecast of gross domestic product, which is used along with other indicators to forecast industry sales. Then the company prepares its sales forecast by assuming that it will win a certain share of industry sales. When environmental conditions are forecast, then the industry sales is forecast. Now we know the market share. Based on the market share and our efforts which are going to be in future, we can first estimate our market share, and then knowing the total industry sales forecast, we can know the share what we are going to get in future as far as the demand for the product is concerned. All forecasts are built on one of the three information bases, and these three information bases are what people say, what people do or what people have done. All these three will tell us what the future demand is going to be. The first basis, what people say, involves surveying the opinions of buyers or those close to them, such as salespeople or outside experts. It includes three methods: surveys of buyer intentions, composites of sales force opinions and expert opinion. Based on this, we are going to make a forecast for future. Building a forecast on what people do involves putting the product into a test market to assess buyer responses. The final basis, what people have done, involves analyzing records of past buying behavior or using time series analysis or statistical demand analysis. And based on all these, we are going to make a forecast for tomorrow and forecast for future. So, we have discussed what people say, what people do and what people have already done. The past record will tell us what is the future trend and how the market is going to look like in future. and for that we can make use of time series method and statistical techniques like regression, etc. With that, we will come to know the future demand of any product. Survey of buyers' intentions. Intentions of the buyers must be clear in the forecasting process. One way to forecast what buyers will do is to ask them directly. This suggests that the forecaster should survey buyers. Surveys are especially valuable if the buyers have clearly formed intentions, will carry them out and can describe them to interviewers. Here, marketing research people will go to the customers, will frame some questions so that they are able to get the intentions of the customers. Customers will disclose their intentions in certain conditions. The first is they must have formed their intentions. They must know their intentions, and based on these two figures, they should really implement those intentions in future. And based on this, we are going to forecast for the future. However, this is sometimes not the case, and marketers must be careful when using consumer survey data make forecasts. The forecaster must know how much truth is there when the customers are disclosing their intentions, how much correct the replies are of the customers. Based on this only, the strategies are to be formed for the future. Several research organizations conduct periodic surveys of consumer buying intentions. These organizations ask questions such as the following: marketing research people, marketing research companies. They conduct these kind of surveys time to time, and they ask questions to the consumers. Do you intend to buy a car within the next months? Or a period is specified, like 6 months, 1 quarter, or 1 year. Do you intend to buy a car within the next 1 quarter? Do you intend to buy a car within the next 6 months? Do you intend to buy a car within the next year? So, these sort of questions are asked directly to the consumer, and the answers can be in the form of no chance, slight chance, fair chance, good chance, strong chance, and for certain. And then probabilities are attached to these replies, like no chance is assigned a 0 probability, and for certain 100% probability that the customer is going to buy a car 100%. So, these probabilities are attached, and based on this we are going to estimate the demand for future. So, this is called a purchase probability scale. In addition, the various surveys ask about the consumer's present and future personal finances and his or her expectations about the economy. Customers and consumers are asked questions. What is the surplus income with you, which you will be having to buy a product, and what the consumers or the customers' expectations are there on the economy front. Do they feel that the economy is going to improve, or the recession will be there, or stagnation will be there? Based on these replies, future expenditure of the consumers and the customers will depend, and this will prompt us to forecast the demand for a product. The various bits of information are combined into a consumer sentiment measure or a consumer confidence measure. So, based on this information, based on the consumer sentiment or based on the consumer confidence, in economy will forecast the future demand. Consumer durable goods. Companies subscribe to these indexes to help them anticipate major shifts in consumer buying intentions so that they can adjust their production and marketing plans accordingly. Once we know the intentions of the consumers, or we know the consumer behavior, what they are going to adopt in future, we can plan our marketing strategies. We can plan our future course of action. For business buying, various agencies and consulting firms carry out intention surveys about plant, equipment and materials purchases. And this is very important aspect of forecasting demand. We must know the intentions of the consumers and the customers. In the composite of sales force opinion, when buyer interviewing is impractical, the company may base its sales forecast on information provided by the sales force. In the beginning, it was discussed that the consumer intentions be clearly and truthfully be displayed. If there is any error in knowing the consumer intentions, our forecast will not be accurate. In that case, we will have to take help from our own sales force. We will have to ask the questions to our sales force, what do they feel about the consumer intentions which are going to happen in future. So, we will ignore the replies given by consumers, will more depend on the replies given by our own marketing team, our own sales team, and will form the opinion of consumer intentions. Company typically asks its salespeople to estimate sales by product for their individual territories, and the territories can be in the form of cities, states, or if the company's operations are large, even we can include the country. It then adds up the individual estimates to arrive at an overall sales forecast figure. So, this method is sometimes used by the companies in forecasting demand. Next is the expert opinion method. The companies can also obtain forecasts by turning to experts. Experts include dealers, distributors, suppliers, marketing consultants and trade associations. These experts give their expert opinion on the future demand, and then finally our marketing action is strategized based on these answers and replies given by experts. Thus, auto companies survey their dealers periodically for their forecast of short-term demand. Dealer estimates, however, are subject to the same strengths and weaknesses as sales force estimates. And these experts, when they give replies, they are also subject to committing errors. So, accordingly, we have to make corrections in their estimates as we are making the estimates based on our own sales force. We are making our own corrections on the forecast given by our own sales team. Many companies buy economic and industry forecasts from well-known firms. There are marketing research companies available from where we can have the data on the future demand of any product. These forecasting specialists are in a better position than the company to prepare economic forecasts because they have more data available and more forecasting expertise. They know different methods of forecasting. They have more experience of forecasting because they are working with different companies who are in the business of different products. They know what exactly is to be done on the data so that our forecasts are accurate and correct. So, we can take help from those forecasting specialists for making the forecast for future. Test marketing, where buyers do not plan their purchases carefully or where experts are not available or not reliable, the company may want to conduct direct test market. A direct test market is especially useful in forecasting new product sales or established product sales in a new distribution channel or territory. And this is called test marketing. On one side, we have explained where exactly test marketing is carried out, where we do not have any potential experts who can give us the estimates and the product is comparatively new, the market for the product is new. Then we are going to have the forecast based on direct test market. We will know the result of test marketing. Based on these results, we are going to make forecast for future. For example, a plumbing supply company might find that its sales lag behind the housing starts index by about 4 months. The housing starts index would then be a useful leading indicator. So, based on this indicator, we can have the forecast for plumbing equipment, because the plumbing is required in buildings. If the flats are being constructed, only then we shall be needing plumbing material. So, we have to discuss the leading factor in this case. How much is the delay in the construction of flats and after how much period the plumbing material is required. So, we will estimate the leading indicator, and based on that we shall be forecasting the demand for plumbing material. Past sales analysis. In this method, sales forecasts can be developed on the basis of past sales. Time series analysis consists of breaking down past time series into 4 components, because the sales can depend upon these 4 factors. One is a trend, cycle, seasonal and erratic. A trend can be there, trend in the sense increasing trend is there, demand is increasing, and maybe demand is cyclic, it increases then decreases, and then it may depend upon the season. So, it can be seasonal also. And the fourth one is erratic, demand is not following any trend. So, it can be erratic also. Based on all these 4 factors, we will come to know the past demand for any product and which is the actual figure, and finally, we can project these components into the future, and the future demand can be estimated based on time series method. Time series method is nothing but statistical method using regression technique. Time series analysis, breaking down past sales into trend, cycle, season and erratic components, then recombining these components to produce sales forecast. Leading indicators, many companies try to forecast their sales by finding one or more leading indicators, other time series that change in the same direction, but in advance of company sales. How much our demand is leading or how much it is lagging depending upon the parent product. So, we are to find out these indicators. Leading indicators, time series that change in the same direction, but in the advance of company sales. Business intelligence. So, business intelligence is one more method for forecasting demand for any product or any service. Salespeople are close to the market in understanding customer wants and should not be overlooked as a way to understand customer preferences. During the interaction between the salespeople and customers, valuable information pertaining to customer wants are given. We already discussed we must get the customer or consumer intentions. Based on that, we can forecast for future. But there is a big if attached to this statement, and that if is consumer must give the correct information regarding the intentions. But if it is not so, then our sales force and the sales team come into picture. They question the customers, they use the business intelligence. Maybe they are not asking the questions directly, because we know that the customers are not going to give the replies correctly to our questions. But the sales force is in touch with the customer throughout the year. They know exactly the behavior of the customers. Now they know the behavior. Based on this particular behavior, they can give us the forecast for future. So our team must give us the correct information on the consumer intentions, consumer behavior, because based on this we are going to make a forecast for future. Companies often use customer relationship management. This is what? CRM, customer relationship management, and this tool to capture this information so that it can be used in reports. The information is analyzed and used to make changes and set distribution and sales goals. On one side, we have talked about customer intentions. On the other side, we have talked about the use of our own sales team. Third thing we have discussed here is CRM, customer relationship management. Under CRM, number of tools are available to us. By using these tools, we can come to know exactly and correctly the consumer behavior for a particular product or for a particular service. Test marketing, I am going to repeat this because this is an important issue and important topic which is used for forecasting. To determine customer responses to products, test marketing is a good option for small companies. Here the distributor sells low quantities of the product within the geographical locations to assess the demand for the product. Whenever we have a new product and it is being launched in the market, we don't go as a full scale. We select a test market, we select a few customers only, and we sell the product to these few customers. And then we ask their opinion on the use, on the features of the product, and what modifications the customers require on this product. We note down all this information on a written piece of paper, and that written piece of paper is in the form of a questionnaire. And the replies we get from the customers are analyzed, and a final decision is taken whether to go for the product without making any changes or to introduce certain changes in the product and launch the product. And what is the reaction of the consumers with respect to this new product is given on the questionnaire and its replies. Based on this information, the company forms an opinion and forecast for the future. After the test period, the seller takes stock to see the movement of product across different segments and in several locations within the area. This gives an idea of demand and customer segments attracted by the product. Based on this feedback, the seller launches the product to a larger population. Initial test marketing, knowing the segment, and this segment is then finally enlarged. And then demographic region is also enlarged, customer base is also enlarged, and the exact amount of future demand is estimated. previous sales data for companies that have been in business for some years. Past sales records are good indicators of future sales. Statistical methods such as time series method, exponential smoothing, statistical demand analysis and econometric analysis help to determine future demand. Here, exponential smoothing is a new thing which has been introduced here in this slide. Based on the time series and exponential smoothing, more accurate estimates are made for the future demand because the error is tackled using exponential smoothing technique. The relevance of the product to the market is already established in this case. However, this method helps to determine aspects that the company must change so that it can cater to a wider audience and boost sales. Here again we are telling how to increase or improve the sales. This diagram shows forecasting within an organization. What is the function of forecasting? A number of decision points are taken, starting from 1, performance, 2 is resources, and 3 is forecast, 4 is decisions, 5 is interaction, 6 is action, and finally the decision maker takes the decision and makes the forecast. And these all functions are available in any organization. So forecasting within an organization, forecasting and managerial decision making process is shown in this diagram. Demand forecasting, market factoring. How this forecasting is done? Using market factoring method. Market potential, market penetration. These two aspects are estimated in the beginning. Then market size and the market share is calculated, and finally sales are forecast. Demand forecasting. Quickly we will add on to this diagram. The top one, market potential, market disaggregation, time series analysis, regression analysis. And at the bottom, market penetration, diffusion model, intent translation, knowing the intentions of the customers. Market size, bottom up, composites, market share, value function, conjoint analysis, and finally majority fallacy and the sales are forecast. So today viewers, we discussed an important factor which is responsible for taking decisions for tomorrow, and that is marketing demand, what it is going to be in future, and the topic was marketing demand forecasting. We learned a number of methods. I hope viewers have understood these methods, how to use them for forecasting marketing demand. Thank you so much.
With this note, thank you, sir. Thank you so very much for giving us a very productive session. And dear friends, we would be meeting again very soon and would be discussing more on marketing management. Till then, take care. Goodbye. Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much.